So we've been learning how to write with 7 steps, haven't we?
Yeah.
The first thing, who can tell me what step 1 is? What's step 1? Johnson?
Plan for success.
Plan for success. What do you do in planning for success? What have you got to do? What do we fill in? What's that thing called?
The story graph.
That's right. We've got a story graph that we have, and we can just do this on a piece of paper. Excuse me. A piece of paper, and if we're writing a narrative, we've got a pebble, a rock, and a boulder, our sizzling start, and our exciting ending. If we're doing a persuasive piece, we've got the same story graph, and we've got arguments across here. Argument 1, argument, argument, and this is the best argument there. That's it, planning for success. Yeah, sure, go and grab it. You'll be on film.
And there's also a sizzling start.
There is a sizzling start and an exciting ending here. So that's what that means. We think about it, it's important to plan before we start. Who can tell me what step 2 was? Mia?
Sizzling start.
Sizzling starts. What can we include in a sizzling start?
Some action.
Action. We start at the action, don't we? We don't start at the boring bits. We start at the action.
Yeah.
Well, how can we start at action? What's something we can think about when we start at action? What could we start with?
Bang.
We could start with, what's that called? A noise. We can start with a sound. We can start with what? Olga?
A story.
Yeah, you could start with a bit of a story, like a narrative, and that's what we're writing. We could start with some talking. What's something else we could start with? A diagram? No.
Question.
We could start with a question. Okay? And it's the same for a persuasive. A narrative and a persuasive can start the same. We can start with a question and we can start with a story. Who wrote a really good story for their persuasive piece when they were doing their writing the other day? Who was that? I think it might have been Sophie. Sophie was right now about who's my hero. Remember? And she wrote a story about Mia being her hero, and then she gave me 3 reasons. So you can start with a little story in a persuasive as well. What's step 3? What do we do? Hiding it. Emily. Tightening the tension. That means we get, our problems get bigger and we finish great. That means we organise our arguments with the best one last. So it doesn't take very long. What's step 4? Who can remember? We haven't learned this one yet. Finn. Dynamic dialogue. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's just keep going. Who knows what number 5 is? Number 5. We haven't talked about this either. Some of the posters on the back wall are what we're using. Johan? Show, don't tell. So that's if I said the character was sad. We don't write sad. What does a sad person do? They were whimpering. What else were they doing?
Crying.
The tears were running down their face. If I wrote tears were running down their face, you would know that they were sad, wouldn't you? Unless they were cutting up onions. So that's show, don't tell. If your character was angry, what words could you say about them being angry? What could you say?
They were stomping their feet.
Stomping. Whatever you just say your character's name is Benny. Benny stomped through the house, growling. Did we say Benny was angry?
No.
But we know Benny's angry because he's stomping and he's growling. So that's what it means to show, don't tell. We'll do that one next week. What's number 6? We've talked about this a little bit. Kosh. Ban the boring. Can you tell me a boring way, a boring ending? Tell me a boring ending. Amos? Pardon?
And they all lived happily ever after.
And they all lived happily ever after. Harry.
Boring. They all died.
And they all died. Boring. Yep.
And the prince was saved.
Pardon? And the prince was saved. Boring.
They woke up and it was all a
They
dream.
woke up and it was all a dream. That's bad. That's disgusting. Can you think of another boring ending?
They went back home and they were saved.
They went back home and they were saved. Okay. We're looking for something that other people haven't sort of, an interesting ending. And, boring. And that's what we're aiming for, as an exciting ending. Okay, so there are 7 steps, and we practice each step by itself. So today, we're going to practice in a fun way about dialogue. Dialogue is when we add talking. Hands up if you put the talking in an outline story. I can see lots. I loved what you did, Mia. Yours was fantastic because you used the correct punctuation. You did a really good job. I was watching, I was going, yay, good job. So one, you have to use correct punctuation, and I'll teach you how to do that. But when we use dialogue in our stories, there is a reason for it. Okay, we don't just put talking in because it's boring. All right, we only talk about the exciting part of the conversation. So you don't write. The teacher walked into the classroom and said, "Good morning, everyone." Everyone said, "Good morning" back. Johan yawned out loud and made a big noise. Okay, we want the exciting part of the conversation. So if we're having a conversation about the lunchtime soccer, I don't want to hear, "And then Bill said, and then Joe said, and then Bill said, and then Joe said." It's just the exciting part of the conversation. This part that makes the story go forward. Hopefully I can just touch it. No?
It's a pen.
It's on a pen. I never have it on. Let's have a look. So this is what we're going to learn. We've only got a little time, so we've only got 20 minutes to have a bit of a practice. So we want to make every line of dialogue, so if you're writing down that someone's talking in your story, it has to move the plot forward. It's not the boring parts. You're revealing something about the character. "I don't want to," screamed Mary. I know that her name is Mary, and I know that she's screaming. Okay? We're talking about what's going to tell us something about the character. And the last one is make the scene more dynamic. Just make it more interesting. Next one. How do real conversation sound? There's a lot of yeah, Yep, no, yep, of course, yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, you can do that. Boring, we don't want to hear that when you're writing. Writers don't write the boring bits. Half-finished sentences is how we actually talk. We don't want that. We only want, they skip straight to the good parts. They don't write the boring parts. Look at this before and after example. So here's a before and an after. I'll read both so that you can have a look. Take the after version. It is more dynamic, gives us just as much information, and brings the characters to life. So here's the story. Oh, excuse me. This is the before. Okay. Oh, okay, certainly, no problem. Okay, bye-bye. Sophie, grab your iPad. Mummy's here, it's time to go. Okay, we're going for your appointment. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay? Good job today. I walked to school and got there late. Everyone was in class. I opened the door and there was kids everywhere. Boys were climbing out the window and there were paper planes all over the place. My best friend Anna was holding one of the rats from the science lab and the rest were running all over the room. Anna told me there were no teachers, none at all. So that's great. That's a great story so far, isn't it, really? If you could write something like that, I'd be super impressed. But let's look what adding a few lines of dialogue, talking, makes it sound. Makes it just a little bit better. So this is after we've added talking. Before I read it, what do you notice? What do you notice by looking at the board? What does the writing look like, Amos? It's neater, maybe, yeah, it's still more tight.
It has more talking.
There's talking. How do you know there's talking?
Because there's like little speech marks.
There's speech marks. So there's speech marks, and this is what Matt said. It's on one line. And what Matt did, And then down here, look at Jack. It's on a different line. When someone different talks, you start a new line. Say it with me. When someone different talks, we start a new line. Okay? That's hard to understand, and we're going to practice by using different colours today. Let's read it. Late to school again, everyone was in class. I opened the door to the classroom at full speed. So did she open it slowly or fast? Full speed. Duck, yelled Matt, and a huge paper aeroplane came diving right at my head. Come on! Jack was halfway out the window. Two boys right behind him. My best friend Anna was holding one of the rats from the science lab, and the rest were running everywhere. What's happening? I asked her. There's no teachers, she cried. None at all. How exciting. Can you see how it's better? It's just because we've added some character talking. All right, so that's an example. I wish we could just do that. So we're going to have what's called a paper fight. All right, and the way we have a paper fight is you're going to be with a friend, with a partner. So you're just going to move your desk close to the person beside you. So Zach, move over here. Johan and, you guys sit beside each other. Imogen and Alexandra, you're together. Amos, go with Harry. Eleanor and Charlotte. Luca, you come and sit beside Oliver. Kosh, Emily, come and sit in Kosh's desk, and Kosh is going to go and sit with him. Alright, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a paper fight, a pretend fight on paper. You'll go, I've already picked it. One of you is going to be a parent, and the other one is going to be the child. So quickly decide who's going to be the Okay, hands up parents. Hands up kids. Okay, well done. So, this is the fight we're having. We're going to have a fight on paper, a conversation that starts off with the parent saying, clean up your bedroom, it's a pigsty. And then the child has to reply. So what will happen is one person will have a red pencil, and that will be the parent. The other person will have a lead pencil, just the ordinary lead pencil, and so they will write. And when they write on the next line. So the parent is going to start by writing, clean up your bedroom, it's a pigsty. Then on the next line, the child will respond. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, not very long. Once you get your paper, the parent needs to write. Move your desk closer. Doesn't have to be a long way flight. Who's the parent? 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 Go. Clean up your room. It's a pigsty. Then you have to give your sheet of paper to your friend who is the child, and they're going to write what they would say. What would you say if your mum was yelling at you like that? I'm busy. I can think of hundreds of things that my children have told me. Okay, so give it to her. She's going, oh no, you have to say what you would say back. Remember, we're going to write a story, so make it fun. Make it interesting. Don't make it, oh yeah, I'll go do it right away, Mum. As if that ever happens. Hands up if your mum says, go and clean up your room, you go and do it straight away.
I never do it.
Oh, I'll adopt all of you then.
My bedroom already clean.
Pigsty, right up. He's going to write down. Jose. Okay, what do you say? Yes, get in there and clean up that dirt. Pick up your undies off the floor. That's disgusting.
Oh, I'd like the whole pan on.
Okay, now swap that. What are you going to say back to him? So there should be no talking. Luca, there should be no talking because they're reading the fight online. They're reading the fight. You're going to listen to what he's saying.
So there's just like a huge going to me.
Shh, you're not talking. You're fighting on paper. So where are you writing? Where's your lead pencil? You're writing in pink. I want a lead pencil. Is this you? Shower yourself. I love it. Right. Next one. You're writing in red.
Shower myself.
See, you shower your stuff. You stink.
You see your mom?
Go.
What's your language, little man?
Okay, I want you to use a red pencil so that it's really obvious which one's which. Okay, give it back to her. Okay, what are you going to say? Parent, it's not that messy. Oh, yes it is. Pick up that rubbish off the floor. I can see you put stuff under the bed. Go. Okay, next line. Come on. What does that say? Come back here, young man. Yes, next line. Why are you?
What's your language? What's your language?
Oh, I can hear angry writing here. I can hear those pencils hitting the paper hard. Look at this arguing. This is great.
Oh, wow.
Okay, pass it on. What's your language, mister? Oh, righto, your turn now. Mister, righto, what are you going to say? Oh, sorry, Mum. I'll go into the shower and clean up. I did clean yesterday.
I'll throw you in the bin.
Emily, I'm enjoying your face there. You're really enjoying this.
Wow, Emily's enjoying it. Okay, Emily's enjoying it.
You have 2 more minutes. If you finished on one side, you can't write on the other one, can you? Because I've got stuff with it.
There you go.
Here's more for your argument. Put your feet, put your bottom right there. It doesn't matter, you can let her write it, you can let her watch you. Alright, stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. We're going to, we're just going to do some sharing. So you can read your own argument, but I'm going to pair the pairs up so that they can share, and you need to read it. So Oliver and Luca will read what they wrote each to these boys behind them so that we're sharing. This pair will share. You two girls turn around and share your story. Kosh and Finn, you come over here. Actually, Kosh and Finn, you can share it with me. You pair share, and these guys turn around and you can share. Turn around and share. Okay, ready? Righto, read away. So who's the parent? You're going to read what the parent said.
Just kidding.
You read.
Oh my God!
having a paper fight, yes?
Class.
Well, I'm going to get you to do some writing all by yourself now. So it's only a 5-minute task. It's not going to take. We're going to write your fight dialogue by passing. We did that. That's what we did. You have 5 minutes. So 7 minutes absolutely in total. You're going to pull out of your drawer your narrative writing book. You're going to write, stay with your friend, go and go to your own desk, you can stay with your friend and you can work together to write down that scene. Obviously we don't want all the talking, but write down that scene. Away you go. Yep, in your narrative writing book. Hi, still button. Loudly. I've got it here. I've got it here, Josh. No, stay with your friend. You stay with your friend so you can work together. Luca, Stop, Johnson. The date today is the 11th of the 5th, or the 11th of May. Write on a new page, please. Start a new page, not at the back. Not at the back. So the last thing we wrote was your story, new page, title, not a title, new date, I should say, write the date, 11th of May. Now you're writing the scene. Mum screamed into the room. So to start with, Mum screamed into the room and yelled, whatever she yelled. Okay? You're writing the scene. Remember, every time someone speaks, it's a new line. Okay? No, you're going to write the whole scene. You're going to write what you wrote together. So you copy each other. Work together. You can copy each other and come up with a scene yourself. Mum screamed. Mum screamed at me or screamed at Ben. Clean up your room. You remember your tool. Good boy. Remember the tool. Oliver, that's being silly. Yes, so you're going to start with the story. Mum stomps in and screams, clean up your room. It's a pigsty. So what she says you have to put in commas, in inverted commas, or speech marks. What she actually said. Clean up, Mum said in an angry voice. Okay? Clean up your room, said Mum in an angry voice. And then what she said, we need to put like this. You've got 2 minutes. Oliver, you need to stop. So watch, I'll show you the first line. I've used speech marks. I've used a capital letter. Clean up this mess. Exclamation mark, because she's saying it loudly. That is exactly what Mum, I'll have to write it underneath, Mum screamed. Because she didn't say it nicely. Clean up this mess. We're not going to tell everyone about that story. Okay? Then the next line is what you said or what the child said. So you can give your character a name. New line. right, close that. And then put a comma inside here or exclamation mark in there. Then write said mum. Alrighty. Oh, Mia's writing heaps. She's making a huge dialogue. Well done, Mia. Good girl. Oh, listen to Charlotte's. It's great. Mum stormed into the room and screamed right in my face, "Clean up your room!" Exclamation mark. Then she's going to start a new line and see what the reply is. Oh no, you already said that. Into my face. Clean up your room. That's what she did. She's already said that. All right, stop what you're doing. No, you're going to the library to watch a movie. Shoulders, hips, lips, cranium, patella, sternum, clavicle, cranium, hips, patella. All right, with your narrative books. I know you've just started, but we're getting the idea of how to write. Put your argument inside your narrative book. Is your friend in front of you? Keep it. Shut your book. Put it in the desk.